Hello, hello, hello. This is Lucy Dumas again on the Profitable Photographer, and I have a very energetic and fun guest for you today, and I can't wait to find out what his world is all about. Before I do that, just a reminder that I so appreciate feedback, and if you want to connect, lucydumas.com, Lucy with an I is my website. And if I have anything else I need to share, I'll think of it later. So let's get started, shall we? I feel like a kindergarten teacher right now. Okay, my guest today is John Glaser, and he is an award-winning photographer in Katy, Texas. He specializes in very dramatic luxury portrait photography. His style is very distinct. You need to go to his website and check it out. And he specializes in dogs, seniors, and sports and family. So I guess he generalizes in those specialties. He also has a fairly new podcast called Refocus Your Photography Business. And he's got a great Facebook page. So check out all of that. I've noticed his episodes have some awesome people on it. So I'm going to go spend some more time listening. All right. He grew his passion for photography from being a coach in Katy, Texas. Wow, like Friday Night Lights. Was it like that, John?
Yeah. I was a high school football and girls basketball coach. Yep.
Well, that was my favorite TV show ever. Um, and he it, sorry, he's got a lot of letters: NFL, NCAA, TSU. Okay, I'm going to let him tell you what that's about. But he's been featured on the NFL, ESPN, and Sports Illustrated. I know what that is. So, hey, John, sorry
Hey, no,
for
you're good.
the
How you doing, Lucy? Thanks for having me.
sorry for the lame introduction.
It's
So,
all good. No worries. Not at all. I'm glad to
yeah,
be here.
thank you. So, what are all those letters on there?
No, I started out when I was doing photography. I focused on sports, like doing pro and college sports. So like NFL, NCAA, Major League Baseball, MLB, all those kind of things.
Ah,
So I did all that kind of stuff before getting into the portrait world of photography.
so you had that like that the ginormous lenses that
Yeah, so I had the 400 millimeter. At one point, I had a 2 to 400 millimeter, like the very, very expensive $10 to $12,000 lenses.
ah.
And
How do
you're
you keep
lugging them around with three cameras and
oh,
four lenses and a belt, and it was pretty exhausting to do
yeah,
sports photography. I mean, it was a lot of fun and the things I got to do, but it was didn't pay very well. It was more for fun than anything. And then COVID hit, and I decided I'm done with this.
no,
I'm like at the time I was like 45 years old, and I'm like I'm getting too old, and my back's hurting, and this is just why it's I'm taking me away from my family way too much, and not making enough money to make it worth my
yeah.
time. So
So when you're in your 20s and you get to be on the sidelines with all those lenses, it
yeah.
seems like the most fun thing in the world. But
No,
that,
it is. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, there's plenty of older people, but it's definitely a young man's game.
yeah, yeah. And women, right?
No, yeah, there's plenty of women. I use the general term. I don't mean
I
it
know.
like it's just a, but it's definitely a young person's game. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know plenty of older people that are doing it, but I feel like on the sports side of things, to do it well, you got to get really low, especially with football and stuff like that, and be on your knees or on your even on your belly and stuff. And some of the older people, they're just standing there with their monopod. They don't get down on the ground. I
No,
don't blame them. I didn't want to get down on the ground half the time either way.
yeah. So photographing children is a lot like that too. And uh, so I started in weddings and then being the kid whisperer. And then I evolved into more families than kids. And I think part of it is because you got to get low. And
Yeah, no,
I think
totally. Yep.
I didn't
Yep.
want to have to wear one of those help I've fallen and I can't get up bracelets while I'm
I
shooting.
have I have this little stool in my my studio. It's like a doctor stool, you know, like that raises up and down and it's
Yeah.
on wheels and everything. And when I bought it, I came home and I told my wife, I said, I know I've bought a lot of really cool things with my photography business, but this is probably the best investment
That's
I've
what you made.
ever made
Um,
because I can wheel around.
yeah, yeah. That for me, it was when I finally got the backgrounds and my camera on wheelie stands. I mean, my
Yes.
eh,
Yeah.
as a tripod.
Yeah.
That was like, oh my God, I wish I'd have spent this whatever $500 10 years ago. It's
Yeah.
just and electrical background that goes
Right.
down.
Well, it's funny the things that we buy as photographers and we think this is going to revolutionize what I'm doing in my business. And it's the things like that that you're like, man, I wish I would have bought that before I would have bought that new camera.
Yeah, so many things. All right, so that's kind of how you got started. So if you, because I notice you do a beautiful job with several niches.
Yep.
If I said, John, you're going to be as successful as you can possibly imagine, and you need to pick one, what would you specialize in right now?
I mean, our true specialty is in dog portraits and specifically dogs and incorporating the family. Like
Mhm.
I'm a big proponent of if you're gonna photograph dogs, I see so many, to me, this is, I think, a mistake that photographers make is that they like, I'm a pet photographer or dog photographer or whatever, and they only photograph the pet, you know, and I think that's a big mistake because these pet like people say owners. I don't like to call them owners. I find myself saying it sometimes, but they're not owners. They're pet parent. You know, I mean, it's just like
Right.
that would be like, hey, have the kids come into the studio and I'm only going to take photos with the kids, not with mom and dad, you know, and these pet parents and the pet like the people that have these pets, it's like their kids and a lot of them are that I have come into the studio are like single and this is
Mhm.
their only that these are their kids, you know,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I would say our thing would be 100%. If I were to have to pare it down to one thing, it would be dogs and families. But when I say dogs and families, it's that incorporated together,
So
right?
pets and their humans.
Yes, pets and their humans. That's our probably our biggest ad that we run
Ah,
on a daily basis.
yeah. So why do you spend time doing anything else then?
So, so families, it kind of comes naturally in the sense of if, you know, I started out doing families. When I first started doing the business, I had worked with a business coach and they told me, you're going to be a black and white dog or a black and white family photographer. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I did. And that's what I started doing. We've gone to more, you know, color and black and white over the years. But, then we got a dog and my wife, we've been married almost 20 years, but like when this all happened was during COVID. My oldest daughter was having some anxiety issues, and she wanted a hedgehog because she heard that they were great anxiety pets. And we were like, I don't really want a hedgehog. And I had a good friend of mine who her kids have had hedgehogs, and they pass away very frequently, and so
Oh,
we would have to be dealing with this hedgehog, you know, not lasting very long. And my wife just basically said, I would rather have a dog than a hedgehog. And I saw the door and I ran right through it because for 16 years, she said, I have 4 votes and each one of you, me, my wife, or me and my 2 kids have one. And so I will always outvote you when it comes to the dog vote, you know, and say, no, we're not getting a dog. But it's so funny because Daisy is our dog.
no.
And we got a dog and she is like my wife absolutely loves her and like actually wants another dog eventually someday, which is so funny because she was so anti-dog.
Mm.
But we got Daisy. I took my kids into the studio. I took some photos of them. I actually have a portrait in my studio of my kids with the dog. That was the first photo that I used to promote pet photography. And I was like, hey, let me give this a try. And this is when I was first starting out and just trying to figure it out and see what I really liked. and I fell in love with it. I love dogs. I love working with dogs, and it's a joy getting to photograph them,
Mhm.
and that's how it kind of started. But to answer your question, why do I do some of the other things that I do? I got my start in doing portrait photography, doing senior photos, and specifically working like I tried to work with like athletic kids, because I was a coach and that was
Mhm.
my world. And I love doing dramatic, really, I like lit senior photos like
Yes.
outside. It's not, I expose for the background and then light my subject, so I
Mhm.
want the background to look the way I want to in the exposure, and then I light my subject. And I stopped doing that for a number of years when I got into the portrait and studio stuff. But my oldest daughter is a senior. In a week, she'll be a senior, and my wife was like, "I really miss your senior photos and
Mm.
all that stuff." So I have an associate photographer that does a lot of our studio work, and I do a lot of the business side and sales type of things, the sales sessions and everything.
Love it.
But I was like, I miss shooting sometimes, and
Mhm.
and this will give me an outlet to do that. So we're bringing back the senior photography, and that's part of the reason why we're doing that. Is I have a market because my kid is a senior,
Right.
and it's also her going to be her senior year, and then I have a younger daughter that will be a senior in 3 years. And so I figured, hey, get back into something that I loved doing when I first started, and like I know people, there's this debate about being a generalist versus a niche person, but
Mhm.
I feel like if you do it well, why not? And I feel like I do both the dog and family stuff and the senior stuff well. And so why not add it to my
Yeah.
my offerings,
Okay.
especially if
So,
I have a passion for it.
yeah.
If I didn't like
Okay.
doing it, I wouldn't do
So
it.
I have some why nots. Number one, when we're doing more than one thing, we have to market to more than one group of people.
Yep.
So it spreads things thin. Number two, when there's a specialty, the world sees you as that, and you create a buzz around you, and people are like, oh, Lucy, she's that really great children's photographer. Whereas if I was children and still doing weddings and I don't know, forensics or whatever, headshots, it's a little mushy. So, but it's not that I wouldn't do other things. But when people are starting out, I think there's value in promoting one thing in a big way
Hmm.
because then you also hang out with, like for me, other children's photographers and
Hmm.
go to children's photography workshops and things. So, but you've got a team, and I think that it sounds like you it
Yeah, we have a team of people, and so like Alex is my associate photographer that works with me, and he does a lot of the studio work. I do some.
right.
I mean, it's not that I've taken myself completely out of it, but Alex does a big portion of that, and that's his thing. Like I've taught him how to do that, and he does
Uh-huh.
it. If you look at my photos and his photos, you wouldn't tell much apart because I trained him
Right.
on how to do things.
So
Um,
so the
yeah,
moral of sorry to interrupt.
you're good.
The moral of my story of you've got a team is that you're not trying to do everything just yourself. Market
Correct. Yeah.
yourself, sell
If I
your
was doing it all by myself, I wouldn't be trying to do all those different
right,
things.
right. And is Katy, Texas a smallish?
No, no. So we're a suburb of Houston, and Houston is the fourth largest city in the United States. So it's a huge,
Okay,
huge
all right.
market. So we have plenty of people to work with, and the other side of it too is on the senior side of it. So when I did senior photography back in the day, I had no idea how to market myself, how to price myself, or anything. I was selling metal prints for $50 more than what the print actually cost me. I
Uh-huh.
had no clue what I was doing. But now that I understand business a little bit better, I'm like, oh, okay, I could probably do a little bit better of a job. But also within a 5 mile radius, just to kind of give you the saturation of people we have here, within a 5 mile radius of my house, we have about to open up an eighth high school. And between those eight high schools, we have 6 to 7,000 seniors just within a 5 mile radius of my house. So
Yeah, you
even
got
if I
plenty of
got
work.
1% of all of that in 5 miles, that's just 5 miles. Like bring the radius out a little bit more, and there's way more. But if I did 1% of that 6 to 7 thousand people, then that's my senior bookings for the year, you
Right,
know?
right. Well, and what's cool with seniors is it, although it doesn't have to be seasonal, but it is kind of, so you can devote an,
Oh, it's definitely seasonal here. I don't do it in the summertime because it's 100
yeah,
degrees
yeah.
outside.
But I mean, when you're doing yearbook, it's seasonal because
Yeah,
they have to
yeah,
have their stuff by a
yeah,
certain date.
yeah, yeah.
But you can concentrate seniors and promotions, and then in terms of marketing, and then you can do pets and other things all year long.
Yep, yep.
So I spy with my little eye a note that marketing is one of your superpowers. So I would love, because to me, marketing is the, for most of us, and not just because we're artists, but because marketing is like that, they pay advertising agents millions of dollars
Right.
to market a multicolored cereal. I mean,
Right.
marketing is a big, big, big thing. And so I love to dive in.
Yeah.
In my career, if I had been like, I'm an awesome salesperson and I'm quite the good photographer, and I marketed by hook or by crook.
Mhm.
With weddings, it's easier. It's so easy to network. But if I had, if that had been my superpower, it could have been rich. So I want to know from somebody that's really into marketing, uh, a lot of hot tips, or
Yeah.
just tips,
Yeah.
but like an overall. First of all, can you give me a big picture of, I don't know, whatever marketing in general or marketing
Yeah.
photography,
No, no.
what your
Yeah, absolutely.
Eagles
So,
view is first.
yeah, so the big thing that got me started and it still works for me today is I do a lot of Facebook and Instagram marketing, and I work with photographers that are trying to do that kind of thing. We get a lot of our leads from that kind of marketing, but we do a variety of things to get those people in, you know? So it's not just a one hit wonder. I started out with probably, you might be familiar because you've done this for a while, the wanted type of ads or
Right.
the model call or we're searching for type of thing. And that's a great hook to get people to respond and become a lead, and then you nurture that lead and they become a client. But I also do giveaways. I do business to business stuff. Like where they're promoting me and marketing me and all that kind of thing.
Okay, hold
Um,
on. Business
Go
to
for it.
business on Facebook?
Yeah, so business to business in the sense of like, for example, we have a really popular pie shop that's right next to our studio,
I'm
and they
sorry,
have like 30.
you broke up there.
Oh,
What?
sorry, you're good. You're good. We have a really popular pie shop that's right next to our
Oh,
studio.
now I want pie.
And you would love their pie because it's amazing.
Oh,
But no, so they're right next to us. They literally, we wall to wall to each other. And I just took a shot, a stab in the dark. I reached out to the owner and I said, "Hey, I've got an idea." And this was, talking to some other photographers about things that they were doing. He has like almost 30,000 followers or
oh
something
wow.
like that on his social media. He's very active on social media. When he is active on social media, he gets a lot of interaction. So I was like, well, what if I tried to partner with this guy and have him do something for me that would help promote like something I'm doing? So we did we've done two different giveaway things, like a Valentine's Day giveaway, and we did I believe it was a Black Friday giveaway last year where I put all the material, the marketing materials together, and we did a giveaway but that was partially pie and partially studio photography. And he marketed it all. And so I gave him a little bit of money that he used to promote the post and all that stuff and boost it through Facebook. Luckily, like I can train him on this, but luckily he already kind of knew how to do this kind of thing. And so he boosted the post. I think the last one we did, we got probably 400 leads from it.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit less. I can't remember exactly how many it was. I mean, we had a winner. Obviously, there was a grand prize winner, but then anybody that didn't win, we offered them a secondary gift voucher to come in and do a session with us. And we booked 22 sessions from that one promotion.
Wow.
So, like, but that was one thing that actually we promoted on our page a little bit, but it was more promoted on his page that, that got us the leads and the people that we wanted to come in. When we did the Black Friday version of that, we didn't promote it on our webpage or on our Facebook or anything at all. It was just him, and we still had similar results. So,
So if someone doesn't happen to have a studio next to a pie shop, how can they get that business to business? I always love that idea. I
yeah,
personally think, because I like to get away from the computer and get out into the world.
yeah,
And I'm always suggesting to my coaching clients to create a little network of
yeah,
people that can have like an event,
yeah.
um,
So I think the
that brings
biggest
in,
thing, like I was lucky because he was next to me, and so we
right.
had a relationship, and we've been in each other's shops and all that kind of stuff, and we knew who each other were, and we've been next to each other for 4 years now. But there's other people that I've worked with and tried to connect with, and I'm massaging those relationships, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time, right? It's not like the advice I would give is don't give up because the first person says no. You're going to probably, it's just like with leads, you get 100
Right.
leads and 10 of them become your clients and 90 of them said no. I mean, I don't look at the 90 of them as like, oh, well, I'm a failure. I look at the 10, it's like, hey, I succeeded,
Right.
so you might talk to 10 different people and make a relationship with 10 different people, and only one or two of them are going to decide to partner with you in something.
Hmm.
The best way I have found for me personally is we have a very active chamber of commerce
Hmm.
in our area, and I'm not nearly as active as I would like to be in it. It's a time thing, but when I have been active in it, is where I've been able to make some of my best connections
Nice.
with other businesses and other people that for the most part, they're all small businesses just like me. And so they're all looking to try and do the same kind of thing. So how can we partner with each other to try and help propel and build each other's business? I mean, for example, I got this nice clean haircut that I have today. And I met through a client who came into my studio, and she was a woman who started her own men's only high end barber shop or
Right.
salon, she only caters to men. Her price point is on the higher level to do a haircut and shave and all that kind of stuff. And so we got to talking, and she built her business 100% off of just word of mouth and networking with other people and sharing her stuff with other people and vice versa. And so in that conversation, I said, hey, I've had this idea that I got from another photographer, Mike Schacht, who I had on my podcast just recently. And he gave me the idea of like, every now and then he does like these sessions with people just to bring them into the studio, give them an experience so that they can share about what they do, right? And so I came up with this thing. It's new. I'm just starting to try it, but obviously I met with her yesterday, got a haircut with her yesterday, and then brought these gift cards so that she can identify the clients that she thinks, because we had this conversation, what are those ideal clients like, and everything. But if you're going in and spending a good amount of money for a haircut that's not your 15-20 cheap haircut or something like that, she's much more than that. And I'm not saying it's not worth it, but it's definitely the right clientele that I'd be looking for. And so I gave her these first shot on me headshot gift vouchers to bring them into the studio and do like a headshot session with them.
Interesting.
Obviously, my goal in that is to do more headshots, and then they eventually would buy a few of them. But even more so, it's getting them into the studio. And when they get in there, they can see, oh, wow, you do dog photography? I
Right.
have a dog. Oh, wow, you do family photography? I have a family. So, okay, cool. Well, we would love to have you in for a session and do a session
Mhm.
with you and all that stuff. And so it's a way of marketing that you're bringing them into the studio. They may spend some money with you and they may not. You're taking that risk, but that's just like marketing on Facebook.
Right.
You're going to spend
Right.
money and maybe not make any money off of it, but you're building that relationship, you're building that network, you're building those relationships with other people that ideally would be your ideal client. Because if they're going to spend the price point of 70 to $100 for a haircut, they're probably your right client to come in and do something that you're doing within your portrait
Right.
photography.
So, but what I'm hearing, at the beginning, you said you mostly do Facebook marketing and giveaways and
Correct.
things. But what I'm hearing is you're also out there hustling on the street. You're making
Yeah.
connections. You're doing things that the Facebook is a layer of it, but it's
Right.
not your only
Yeah, so
thing.
I would say Facebook's the main catalyst for things that we do in our studio, and that's where we get the majority of our stuff. Now, we're a high
Okay.
volume studio. We're not like most photographers aren't doing the volume we're doing. We're doing, 40, 50 sessions a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if we're doing 40, 50 sessions a month, like we obviously need a lot of leads to get that volume. But if you're a photographer that's only doing, 5 sessions a month or whatever, and you're a lower volume, then you don't need to rely so much on that kind of thing. Facebook marketing is really, if you're going to be high volume, you have to put yourself out there a lot and pay for those leads and pay for that getting out there. But like you were saying, I learned this from Mark Rosetto, who
Yeah.
is in Australia, phenomenal photographer, phenomenal business coach and all that stuff. And his thing is just not putting all your stuff in one basket and having like multiple places of where you're getting your leads from and getting your bookings from. So yeah, Facebook might be 70, 80% of what I'm getting my stuff from, but I want to get something from other places so that when Facebook doesn't work or I have an issue or like I want to save some money and not market through there or whatever, um, you know, and honestly, some of those other things generate quote unquote better clients,
Right.
type of thing.
Right. With the
But
networking,
yeah,
I
but I
wanted to
mean,
jump
but it
into
all
that.
works into itself. And then, I mean, I even do marketing things where it's just like I take my clients and make them into more clients, So and what I mean by that is like portrait of the season or portrait of the quarter or portrait of the month or whatever you're doing, depending on the volume. And what I do there is I take, like, some of the clients that I've already had and I put them in a contest. And then guess what? They're the ones promoting it for me. And it's
Right.
costing me nothing to promote it because they're the ones sharing the link and getting the leads from their family and friends and all that stuff and showing the pretty pictures. And more than likely, those people have talked to their family and friends and the people that are voting and said, hey, we had this great session with John Glaser Photography. So that after they vote, we offer them their own personalized session with us,
Mhm.
and then they book in a session. But those leads cost us next to nothing other than what we
The
what
work.
we give the winning family,
Right.
So, it's just it's having a multifaceted thing. If you put your eggs at all in Facebook, Facebook's a nice thing in the sense of it's easy to turn off and on the switch.
Yeah.
If you turn it on and you got it all set up right and you're doing the right things, you're going to get leads. I've been doing Facebook for over 4 years now, and it's just a constant. If I turn it on,
Yeah.
it's like I got a buddy of mine that he and I talk a lot, and he's a photographer, and we talk business a lot, and he's pretty impressed because I can turn the fire hose on, so to speak, at
Right.
whatever level I want to, and keep my amount of bookings on the books that I track to where I want it to be. Because at one point, I had too many sessions on the books. I know that's like, oh, woe is me. That sounds terrible. But when you have too many on the books and they're too far out, then the negative that happens is you get 3 or 4 months out and it gets to their session. Oh, I forgot I had this session. So it's for me, I've been trying to find that balance of like, I don't want you to be too far out because then you don't forget your session and then you don't reschedule or you don't cancel or whatever. But at the same time, I want to, it's a balancing act of I want to make sure I have plenty of sessions on the books where I'm not panicking going, hey, I don't,
Right.
it's all dried up, you
Yeah.
know? So,
So do you focus on SEO at all?
so we do a little bit of SEO and everything, and that's one of our priorities of things that we're going to be working on this year. And we have been working a little bit on, but this summer, my wife is transitioning from her job that she's currently in. She's got a week left. She works for the school, and she's going to come and work with me in the business and do some stuff. And then my studio manager, my wife, and I have I've been having chats with them about we're going to take some days and work on SEO things. Like it's just like we're all going to be in a room together. And it's like, hey, we're going to work on the website, and these are the things that we're going to work on. Um, we do the Google My Business page. We do all that kind of stuff, and we get a trickle of people that come in from organic, SEO type of stuff. But again, as a volume photographer, I can't rely on that kind of thing to bring in
Right.
all my business because
Right.
it's a small amount. Now, those
So,
people are probably hotter leads than a Facebook or an Instagram ad or something like that because they searched you out, they found your page, they really liked what you did, they did your contact form, but they're not happening at 50 a month.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
So
a smaller drip,
it
so to
makes me
speak.
think, it makes me think of my favorite Gary Larson cartoon. Do you know Gary Larson?
No, no, I don't.
Okay, you got to Google. I don't think he's doing them anymore, but he he uses animals a lot, and he just has the weirdest, best um sense of humor. I used to give my brother-in-law a Gary Larson calendar every year for Christmas, or a day at a time. And he likes buzzards a lot. His sketches are very, there's no color. It's always sketch, or no, there might be. Anyway, there are some buzzards on a scraggly old tree overlooking the plains with wildebeest.
Hmm.
And one of the buzzards turns to the other and says, "Patience, hell, I'm going to go kill something." And so to me, SEO is like patiently
Yeah, no, it's
waiting,
totally, yeah,
whereas a Facebook ad or act now is the get out there and do a predictable something that gets the phone ringing, gets the leads, gets it through the door. Would you
yeah.
agree with that?
No, 100%. And I mean, it's like I just made I made a little Facebook post a couple of weeks ago, a video about this type of thing. And and it's like I used to have this thought that if I post a bunch of pictures on Instagram or whatever, they will come,
Mhm.
But guess what? When you post a bunch of pictures on Instagram, you're posting them to the same however many people that are following you on Instagram. You have to pay to get out your reach to a further
Right,
audience, right?
right.
And so the best example I can give, and this is what I shared in the video, is if McDonald's and Walt Disney World or the Disney Corporation, so to speak, are spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars every single year to promote their product, then why aren't we doing that as photographers? Everybody knows we're about McDonald's. If you don't know about McDonald's, you're living on a rock. Everybody knows about Disney, and if you don't, you're living under a rock. But they still spend millions of
Yeah.
dollars of marketing dollars promoting their product, and you're thinking, why? I mean, there's McDonald's on every street corner,
Mhm.
and I know they serve burgers and nuggets and fries and cokes and whatever. Why do they have to spend a bunch of money? And when I dissected it, I kind of looked into this. It was about 5 to 10% of their total revenue for the year. If they're spending 5 to 10% of their revenue for the year to bring in people, why wouldn't you?
Right,
Because like if everybody knows who they are, nobody knows who you are as a photographer, probably. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Or very
Yeah.
few people know who you are, and so. The other example I can say when it comes to paid marketing, when you're doing paid advertising and stuff, is if I were to tell you, if you were to spend $1,000 and you got 10 bookings or $100 a booking, and those 10 bookings each spent $2,000 with you, that's $20,000. So if I told you you could spend $1,000 and somebody would pay you $20,000, would you do that? Most people would say, hell
Uh,
yeah, I would do that,
yeah,
right? But the problem is, and it's a catch-22. I get it when you're a photographer, when you're first starting out and you're trying to figure this out in the business. It's you don't have that $1,000 to spend on that marketing. And if you don't do it right, you're wasting that $1,000. And what I find a lot of people doing is they take the cheap and easy way out and they go, I'm going to go figure this out on my own. And they try and go and do it on their own. And then they go on to Facebook pages and stuff that they follow and go, I'm running a Facebook ad and I'm not getting any leads.
right,
I'm running a Facebook ad and I got leads, but I don't know what to do to get them into the studio. I don't know how to massage that client or whatever. And so that's just part of it. It's like, just because you got a lead doesn't mean you can make them a client. There's other parts to the
right.
puzzle. And
Absolutely.
so that's where, you know this because you work with people, and I know this because I help people with their businesses. But having somebody that's successful as a business that's willing to coach you and help you and massage you along to getting you to where you want to be, and that's important, because just running a Facebook ad and spending $1,000 to get a bunch of leads is just a small piece of the puzzle.
Right. Well, and what I see is if you so you run a Facebook ad and someone thinks, "Oh, I'll check them out." And then your sign up sheet has too much stuff, too many words, overwhelming. Uh, People go away, or they get to your website and your website is not showing the quality of what you do.
Right,
And
right,
you on your website, you say you're a luxury photographer. If it doesn't look luxury, if you just typed in any font and called it a logo, if you have no cohesiveness, if you put, if you like it all layers, it
no,
all
yeah, I get
has
it, yeah,
to
yeah,
work. I wanted to jump back to, I love what you're saying about that it's important to um, spend money
yeah,
to get work. And I've in my 40 plus years in this business, of course, there've been about 7 recessions.
right.
Um, there's been a time when it wasn't really a recession, but for some reason, everything just went flat.
Mhm.
And nobody was getting work, and this was still film days, so we didn't have the internet to kind of get out there and kill something, like the buzzards. And I noticed so many people then lowering their prices and
Right,
cutting back on marketing. And the ones of us that came out of it not only where we were, but better than when this downturn happened are those of us that upped our marketing, upped became better
right,
photographers,
right,
took that time to grow in a way that then when the work came back and all those people that closed their businesses because uh, they didn't keep marketing, now, it's an even
right.
richer field.
Yeah,
So
and I think we're in one of those times right now. I mean, inflation's high. People are saying we're in a recessive kind of state, and people can't. You hear the people, the woe is me photographers. People aren't spending money on photography. They might not be spending money, but as much in some aspects, but they're still spending, and we're doing fine in our business with that kind of thing. And so I think that's another part of the whole business is having the mindset of getting past those kind of
right,
things,
right,
you know?
right. And when you're doing volume, uh, you or when you're doing, those 4 or 5 really juicy clients a month and
Right,
you're targeting those people, it doesn't matter. Like my ideal clients, for most of them, recessions and downturns don't make a bit
right,
of
right,
difference.
right. Yeah, the
They
people
they
that are
may
getting
use that,
affected, yeah, the people that are getting affected by recessions and stuff like that are not necessarily the people that are going to spend money with you anyway.
right.
They're
But
the ones that are out of a job or they don't have a job that is keeping up with the Joneses, unfortunately, I mean, and that's just the truth. But here, I will say this about the marketing side of things, and you said something a minute ago of like having these landing pages with all this stuff on it and everything. And I tell people this all the time. When it comes to marketing, sometimes I think we overthink it.
Hmm.
In my opinion, I think the only thing that you need from a person is their name, email, and phone number. And people will argue, well, if I ask them, why do you want this session, and they fill out that part, then that means they're more qualified of a client. How are they more qualified? Because they told you they wanted a session? I mean, the more, or they'll say, if I put more questions and they'll answer more questions, then they're more qualified of a client. No, that doesn't make them a more qualified client. That just makes them somebody that actually filled out your form. But if you just put your name, email, and phone number, that's all
Yeah.
you need from somebody. They'll fill that out. And in most cases, in most situations, that will autofill and they don't have to do anything to fill that out. It will just automatically
Right.
happen and they don't have to think, and they will fill out your form without even realizing they did it, sometimes,
Yeah.
and give you their information. But so with that said, that person that might be having a tough time and a recessive time or whatever's going on in their lives today might not be your client today, but they might be your client a year from now or 2 years from now. And so then that's another facet and a level of what you need to be doing in your marketing is continuing to stay in front of your clients by
Right.
doing emails, text messaging, whatever that is. And it's not salesy all the time. Like we share our blog posts, we share, happy Mother's Day. Here's a
Hmm.
little tip about being a great mom or what, whatever it is. I
Right.
mean, but we share things like that, and then strategically over the year, we'll do like a special offer or something like that, and then that's when you can reconnect with some of those people. For example, when I did the pie giveaway with my neighbor, my pie neighbor, I sent that out to I think I had like 13,000 people here in Houston on my email list. I sent that contest out to all 13,000. Now, some of those people were already my leads, so I'm not capturing new leads. They became a reacquired lead, so to speak,
Right.
and I'm remarketing to them, but they're still showing interest because they filled out the form, they entered the contest, but then they might be in a place to be going, you know what? Now is the time for me to book my session.
Right.
Something happened in my life. I got a job. I got a better job. I can actually afford you. I had a person come into my studio a couple of weeks, about a month or two ago, I guess now, and she was weeping. Lucy, she was weeping. She
Oh.
came into my studio crying, and she said, I was across the street at the Kroger. We have a Kroger right across the street from our studio. And I was at the studio or across the street at the Kroger. I looked over, I saw your sign above your studio, John Glaser Photography. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's where John Glaser Photography is. And she came in and was telling me the story. Like, she was like, I have been following you for years.
Hmm.
I've been following your ads pop up on my phone all the time. Whatever you're doing is working because I see it all the time. I love your work. I love what you do. I see other photographers posting stuff and sharing things in their ads and stuff. But I've always said, I can't afford John Glaser Photography today, but when the time comes when I can afford John Glaser Photography, I am going to go to John Glaser Photography. But but that's the mindset we have to have, that sometimes it's a quick thing, like you get the lead this week and they book them next week, right? But if it's 100 leads and you book 10, don't discount the 90 that you didn't book.
Right.
you know
Right.
Keep
Okay.
massaging those clients.
Yeah. So I want to summarize and highlight this that you just said that I think is so overlooked, even by people that everyone would be surprised because it's some people that are very successful are not cultivating
Nope.
using an email list, a robust email list with qualified people or potentially future qualified. I mean, I've sent out a Christmas card every year except one during the COVID. For some reason, I didn't. But my whole career, if I did nothing else to stay in touch, I sent Christmas cards every year. I think, personally, I think getting snail mail addresses has value as
Yep.
well. But
Yep.
getting, staying in touch, I have friends who call their former clients regularly, at least once or twice a year. She's very niched. You couldn't call
Yeah.
12,000 people.
That would be a whole I would have to have somebody on my staff just doing that.
Yes, yes. But and not having, I love what you said, not having everything be uh an ad. I have so many um get so many emails from services that, and because when I became a coach about 10 years ago, then I did a deep dive into education. So I'm on all these mailing lists of all these people who coach coaches, but it's always seems to be marketing.
Yeah.
And I have photographer friend who's done a monthly email, a monthly, like a newsletter uh, for years. And it's quirky and it's light and it always has a cool title. And I always read it. And I'm not gonna necessarily hire her. Um,
Right.
although if there's potential, I could at some point. Um, but she's always in my mind as a photographer. And so some of the things you said, and I don't want to, we're just about out of time,
Yeah, that's fine.
is spending money on marketing, strategic, smart marketing, business to business promotions, uh, networking locally, and then cultivating a client list. I think what's so beautiful when you partner with another business that is doing things well is that then all of your stuff and all of their stuff goes out to both of your email lists.
Right.
So if there's one last marketing tip before we say adieu, what would it be?
Don't stop.
Ah,
I read a book called The Entrepreneur's Roller Coaster, and the author talked, I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but he talked about how, like, your business is like a train, and a train, it takes a while for that train to get moving. It takes a lot of energy and power for that train to get moving, right? But once that train is moving and it's churning and it's doing its thing, then it's great, and it's harder to get it to stop. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the videos of a train trying to stop at a place where a car got stuck or something and it crashed into the car or whatever, right? And it's hard to stop, right? But it's hard to get it going, right? So when you get that train moving, his point was get that train moving, keep that train moving. You can slow the train down and you can speed the train up, but never stop the train because it's harder to get that train going again if you stop it completely. So
right.
never stop. Whatever you're doing marketing wise, you just have to stay on top of it. You have to be always doing something, even if it's the bare minimum. I have people ask me all the time, what should I be doing in my business? And and a lot of photographers would say I need to be doing more photography, more of this, more of that. If you want to bring in clients, you need to be working on your business, not in your business.
Right.
I mean, most of us are working in the business too, but if you're working on the business, doing the marketing, making those networking and doing those emails and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to set your up for your success. You're going to set yourself up for better success long term than than the photographer that goes out and does a Facebook ad, gets 100 leads, does 10 bookings, and then goes, oh wait, I guess I got to go do another Facebook ad.
Right.
Our Facebook ads never stop.
Mm,
So they're always going, and I'm just changing. It's like the fire hose. It's like if I want to slow it down, I spend less. If I want to speed it up, I spend more or do
right.
more campaigns.
Right.
So
And I'm sure we could have a whole other hour spent on, once you get a lead,
no,
how do you get,
totally.
how do you get money in the bank?
Yeah,
Because
right.
it's pointless to market if we can't take a lead. And and get them to go in our system. That we need to have a system uh, so that we can get to that point where they purchase what we want to for an amount that we need to keep the train rolling along. So, but that's a conversation for another day, right?
Right. Hey, and it's funny, as we're sitting here closing up, I actually just got an email from a contact form on my website.
Wow. Ding, ding, ding. This stuff works. TSW. Well, John, thank you so much. And just FYI, the way I found John is he reached out to me. I don't know if it was to friend me or to have me join your Facebook group. And so then I looked him up and was like, because I'm always on the lookout for a great person to interview, and I love doing pod swaps. So
Mhm.
if you get on John's, if you like me a little bit and you get on John's,
Yeah, we're gonna have Lucy on our podcast,
yeah,
and we're
you
gonna
could,
talk shop with her, but we're gonna talk something a little bit different, and it's her superpower, which is
yes,
wall art and wall art sales. There
that's
you go.
right, right. So, so then I was like, oh, John, oh, he's doing lots of things. So then I reached out to him and said, do you want to be on my show? And then said, hey, you want to have me on your show? So that's the power of being proactive,
Right.
is, whatever you're up to, whatever I'm up to, we're collaborating here to get the word out around the world that we want you to be successful, right?
Yep. Yep. I
And
mean, that's anybody that comes and wants to work with me. That's my number one goal is to see you succeed. I
yeah,
don't, and it's so funny because I would even say I would do that for somebody in my local area. I mean, and people go,
sure.
oh, what? And I'm like, dude, there's like 6 million people in the city of Houston. I
Yeah.
can't service all of
No.
them.
And everybody's drawn, there's a lid for every pot.
No,
It,
totally.
my ideal client would not necessarily be drawn to
Well,
someone
and
even across the street.
the best advice I give people to that is look at, I hate to use this analogy again, but McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King,
Oh, they're all in the
and
same
Jack in the
corner.
Books. You can go to a four-way stop sign and they're all on four-way stop sign, like across the street from each other. Do you think they're worried about the other person across the
Yeah,
street? No, they're just doing their business and doing their thing and they're going to get theirs, and that's how we should be as photographers. Stop worrying about the other guy, worry about your business and just keep working to make your business the best and outperform and outbuild somebody else.
right.
So you'll find your clients.
Yeah. And in fact, those other photographers can be great leads. I've gotten some of my best clients from other photographers who were busy or
Yeah.
booked or
Or they didn't do that kind of thing. Like I don't do swaddling clothes newborn photography. So if
right.
I get somebody, I go, hey, you might want to go talk to this person. I mean,
Yeah.
they do it and I don't do it, and I don't even want to try. So
Yeah. So John, how do we get in touch with you? And how do we get in
yeah,
the portal?
you can find me like going by my website, johnglaserphotography.com, or I do have a Facebook group, Refocus Your Photography Business, which is more of the business side of things when it comes to photography. We also have the podcast with the same name, Refocus Your Photography Business, and you can find me there. I'm on Facebook. Feel free to friend me and hit me up with a message. Like just look for my beautiful headshot when you look up John Glaser in Katy, Texas, and yeah. But those are the kind of places that you can find us, and also on any kind of social media. John Glaser Photography. I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook. I have a TikTok, but I don't do a whole lot with it. I need to do more, but it is what it is.
Yes.
But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, John, for saying yes to my invite. And I'm excited that next week we get to
Do it
continue this
again.
conversation. I love your
Yeah.
energy, and it gets me. If some people that watch regularly, they might be thinking, wow, Lucy's full of energy today. And it's because of you. And also, it's a little early for me. I'm not a morning person. So I had to get myself, uh, well, no, I knew you had a lot of energy. So I kind of lean into you. So anyhow,
Okay.
I appreciate you so much and thank you again for being on the show and sharing all this good stuff with people.
Well, thanks for having me, Lucy. I really appreciate it.
Well, now it's just you and me here. What do you want to talk about? All right, what I'm going to do is a little quickie wrap up. That was very energizing and so fun talking to John. And don't miss his podcast, and especially when I get to be the guest. So we focused on primarily on marketing. And so basically, if I summarize, he suggests, first of all, we need to spend money. I mean, you don't have to, but in order to grow, when you invest properly in marketing, it can just give you that solid foundation where you have a steady flow of clients, which is great. He does a lot of Facebook marketing, Facebook ads, want ads, giveaways, and then he does business to business where you get to promote each other. And I'm sure it's multi-layered because there's ways that we use social media within the scope of promoting each other. So there's that. Search engine optimization. He hasn't done a lot of that, but he's going to start diving into this. And then we talked about cultivating a client list and using it. It's it's like having a backyard full of gold that you don't get out there and dig it up. Like you've got to keep, or well, let's talk about it more like a garden. You've got to cultivate, you've got to fertilize it, you've got to spend time with it. And same, when we have clients or um, ways that people get into our world, then we need to do something regularly, consistently to stay in front of them. And then his last little tip is keep going. Don't stop. Don't pause. Keep, you know, keep the engine going. So that's it for now. Don't forget, I'm also on YouTube. If you're not watching this, but you're listening, you can jump over and I've got maybe 100 episodes on YouTube now. I haven't done them all, but um, love for you to leave comments. It really means a lot to me to hear from you. So that's it for now, and hope all is well. And here's to great success for you and everyone else out there. Bye.